seconds. Good Lord.
Yeah, it's initializing. Hey, ballers! I am here with Mr. Adam Cord, co-owner, co-designer, co-crazy man of Denali Skis. As we record this today, it is day 2 of Masters qualifying in 2024. So if you see Adam look away, he's looking at his phone to see how the other Adam is skiing. The current score to beat is 4 at 41. Adam, how are you, man?
Hang on, I gotta check that right now. Yeah, 441, right? I think we're between rounds, so
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, I
good.
think you're
Yeah,
good.
thank you. Yeah, yeah. No, I'm good. I'm at home in Seattle, which is good because I've been traveling way too much for my real job, which I don't recommend. But I'm home now, so that's good.
So the premise of this interview is you have a new ski, the Denali C95, and when you guys sent it to me, I told you that I was going to refuse to do the unboxing video until you told me more about the ski, what you're trying to achieve with what your design parameters were, or you can reframe that, and then how does that physically manifest itself in the ski? When I look at the ski and I look at the tunnel or the bevels or the rocker or the silhouette, how can I see what it is you're trying to do? And, why is this the best ski ever known to man? It's a small question. We
It's a
should
small
just.
question. Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. So I can give like the 30-second elevator pitch, which is essentially that we tried to make a ski that was wider and therefore faster behind the boat. It can make space more easily. Yada yada. I don't think that really gets to the crux of what we've done with this thing. Is very different than any other ski, and I think you could probably say that about all of our skis, but we're instead of diverging with the rest of the industry, I think we're sorry with instead of converging, we're diverging away from what everyone else is doing even further, which is something we've done probably from the beginning. So if you want to know sort of how we ended up where we are, we have to go back in time a little bit. Um,
Do you like Huey Lewis in the News? Back in Time? It's
yeah,
a great song.
exactly.
It's a great song. Sorry. I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
Steering it right off. Yeah. So I mean, we don't have to go all the way back. I developed skis with O'Brien, and I worked with Maple, and we developed skis, and all of those skis. Some were good, some were less good. Learned a lot along the way, but nothing we did was, I don't think, revolutionary in any way. We were tweaking bevels, we were tweaking profile shapes a little bit. Um, Playing a lot with flex, that kind of thing. But I learned a lot along the way, and it wasn't until Caldwell and I started really collaborating together, because as much as I or you or any of us think about water skiing, that dude never stops. He never stops thinking about water skiing. I mean, he dreams about it, and he wakes up in the morning, he's thinking about it, and so he's the one who really kind of has, I think, driven us in a different direction, in my opinion, a really good direction. But it started pretty early. I mean, our early skis, the first skis we built were basically just sixums, where we were adjusting the profile shape. We took some sixums, we were modifying those and building molds out of them, and then testing them, playing with bevels and rockers and stuff like that. But there was this period there early on, before Denali was even Denali, when it was just the two of us screwing around with skis, where we started saying, well, we need to back up and collect some data. Let's try to figure out what makes a ski good and what makes a ski bad, which I think naively at the time that seemed like it made a lot of sense. But looking back, that's a lot harder than we realized. But what we did is we got every high end ski, or every ski that we thought was half decent. We went and got our hands on all the D3s and HOs and goods, and the Connolly and all those skis back then, and started just taking measurements and riding them and try to figure out, this one does this, that one does that, this one's got the rocker here, the profile shape is like this on this one, the tunnel is deeper here than there on that one. and just tried to create a bit of a roadmap for what does what on each one of those skis, and then attempt to take that and converge on, okay, here's what's good about all of them, here's what's bad, here's what's similar, and to be honest, they're all fairly similar. They're not, especially when you consider compared to what kind of what we've got now. But we were able to draw some parallels with those skis and sort of say, okay, this is a common theme in these, and that works. And so that's how we ended up with the first Denali skis that we actually sold, like the three series. I think the 3.1, and then we had the 3.4. Those were the first ones that came out of that data set where we said, okay, now we know this baseline of what works and what doesn't. Let's just take those base parameters, ignore everything else about what a ski should look like or whatever every other ski looks like physically, and just base it on those parameters. So that's how we ended up with a ski that has a angled, that like kind of angled tunnel that we ended up with, because we're trying to control the angle of the tunnel as it comes off the bevel. That's how we ended up with the really flat tip, because we were trying to match the tunnel or the profile shape and the rocker shape. So those early skis came out of that, and then it sort of evolved from there. We learned a lot that not everything we did was brilliant. Some of it was okay.
Well, all right, so let me see if I can direct this a little bit to put this back on track. So 6.1 was, I think, your first. I don't know how many you sold of them, but it was your first really
Three
kind of.
3.1, I think, was the first one we actually sold some skis.
Yeah, no. I'm blocking 3.1 out. We don't.
Oh
You and
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't
So
talk
you're
about
talking
3.
about the C series. So we did
The
the
C
C
series.
65. 65. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So 6.5. Um, it was, in my mind, it was fast across the course, and it shut down harder than any ski ever. And so it was big turn, a little bit of load, zing across easy, big turn, zing across. It was not flowy. It was not like, it was not pretty lines, but I skied great on it. I have great memories of that ski. And I know it had kind of the S wing on it, which was probably a factor.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, in unique skis, looking back, the 6.5 might be the most unicorn or the most unusual of the skis that you put out. How did that happen?
Yeah. So that, and I know you don't want to talk about the 3 series, but basically what we did is we took the 3 series and we started to really understand basically how tunnel affects lift. So I don't know if you remember. I think we posted some pictures on Ball of Spray, but it was a ski where we instrumented it all the way down the ski and put pressure ports in the ski all the way tip to tail, so we could actually measure the pressure under the ski while you were skiing, because we were trying to understand where's the lift from. How does profile shape and tunnel angle affect lift, and we learned a bunch from that, because what was super cool that we hadn't really thought of was that like everything behind your back foot is in suction for most of the pass. So it's not lifting, it's actually sucking down into the water. Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to lose sleep thinking about that.
Got it? Okay.
So, okay.
So that's what led to the shape of the C65, was trying to understand that and optimize it. And yeah, totally. That ski, when I look back, that was when I jumped from being like amateur to, I think I'm going to go ski open now, because I
Mm.
gained like an entire pass on that ski. I think I know I won nationals on that ski, and I think that was the ski that Caldwell took to that ball spray tournament down in Texas and skied really well. I think he ended up losing to Asher in the finals or something, and that was the first time he'd ever skied against a real pros.
Right.
Um, but yeah, but that being said, I go back and look at videos on that ski. God, that thing was a lot of work. It
It was
was
a lot of work.
definitely it was a
There
lot of
was,
work. It looks a little bit brutal.
yeah, there's that moment where you're out of the ball line, and just about the time you get to the ball, you feel like the boat is just outpacing you. There's that
Right.
kind of that magic alignment where somehow it's always there's the ball. Oh, I'm just at that right speed. come around. There's no extra speed, but it's
Right.
all. I really have fond memories of that ski.
Yeah, no, the line was always tight. You could run some buoys on that thing. There's no
Right.
question. Yeah. So anyway, that that was where we really, I felt like, started to move in the right direction. It was a little bit confusing there for a while, and that one started to really work. And so then it became a question of, okay, well, what do you want the ski to do in the water? The jump from the C65 to the C75 is when we made that move from 68, 67, 66, 65 size skis to small, medium, large. So that was an idea that we've been kicking around forever. Maple used to talk about that back in the O'Brien days. I mean, that was something that we'd always kind of talked about and played around with. There was that O'Brien synchro ski that people skied pretty well on back in like the late 90s. That was like a 63-inch ski, really wide. So our goal was, well, can we take the C65 shape and make it shorter, wider, because what we want to do is get it so it rotates more easily behind the boat off the second wake. That was when we started to understand smear and that whole concept of, okay, let's get the ski, instead of using an S wing, which is basically a bent wing that has a bunch of drag to slow you down to the buoy. Let's get the ski to start smearing and sliding and use that rotation as the function to slow you down into the turn. So that's where we got to with the C75, was shorter ski, boots are further back, so your feet were closer to the fin, and now the tail's a lot more loose, and you can start using that rotation as your means of getting what you were just talking about. The line's coming tight, the boat's moving away from you while you're coming into the turn. So that's where that ski came from. And then the C85 was basically just an evolution of that.
Right. And it's funny you say that because to me, the 7.5 is still an unusual ski. If you go out and you read. If you ski on all your competitor skis and you jump on the 7.5, it's a definite outlier. It's actually, I had the best skiing summer of my life on 7.5, but it doesn't feel like if you walk into performance skiing sport and you pull any of your competitor skis off the wall, they're not a lot like 7.5. Whereas I kind of believe that with 8.5, you could go from one of your competitor skis and jump on 8.5 and it doesn't feel wacky.
Yeah. No, I think the thing that we did is we basically took like an inch off the tail of the C65 to make the C75. So in our mind, we thought we needed to add width and tunnel to the tail of that ski to get it to balance back out. I think what we did was kind of unbalance the ski. If you had it set upright, it was really good. I mean, my best scores ever at 36 were on that ski, you know. And that was the ski Caldwell ran all those 41s on. He tied Jeff Rogers' record on at 34. That was on that ski. So if you had it set upright, that thing could run some buoys. It was a challenge to get people dialed in on it because the balance was a little bit weird. So that's where we went to the C85. I want to say the only thing we changed was essentially the tunnel width and the tail width and the tunnel through the tail to try to find a better balance, find a wider sweet spot, a longer margin of error on that ski. So that, I mean, they're
So,
basically identical except for the last 12 inches of the ski.
I would never, ever have guessed that. I
Yeah.
would have sworn that you guys like took the CAD file and threw it away and started from scratch.
Yeah, you would think. I mean, we were able to basically just take C75s and split the tail, modify it, put it together, and go ski it. And that was the C85. And
So
that
is it
one,
is it wider or narrower on the tail?
it's narrower. Yeah.
That makes sense.
It's narrower and has less tunnel. So the tail just sits deeper. But that ski, we could put anyone on it, basically the stock settings, and it just worked. So yeah, that one was good. So that one we were really happy with. It was very easy, right out of the box. So back to the original point of this whole conversation,
Oh yeah, the 85, the 95.
C95. So we normally do like a 2-year cycle, right? So we come out with a ski, it's out there for 2 years, and then we come out with a new one. And that's not by any plan, honestly. It's literally like we come out with a ski, we ride it for a while, and we're like, this is great, we love it. And then, you know, 50 sets in, we start to get bored and we start getting out the grinder and trying new stuff. That's just the nature of both me and Caldwell. Like we just want to play with skis. So, and then it takes us about another year to get that new shape dialed in so we can come out with a new one. So that's basically what happened with the C85. You know, he skied really well. That's the ski that that Caldwell, he skied at the Malibu Open and ended up second to Nate at that tournament. Um, you know, I ran my first 39s in a pro tournament on that ski. So like that ski was working great, but as usual, you know, you get bored. And so we started playing with different ideas. And one of them, back to the original concept with the small, medium, large, shorter, wider skis, was, well, okay, we've made the ski. It's like the C85 was wider than most skis and shorter. But the idea was, well, have we explored the limit of that? Like we haven't really tried wider. Let's start playing with that and see what happens. So
Okay,
it started.
hold, let me stop you. So, was there a moment of we wish this was wider, or was it, oh, let's just see which way we can go?
Totally, let's just see. It was just an experiment, right? Totally just an experiment. So you know, I was skiing on we were both skiing on like medium sized C85, but we made an extra large, just for really big people, 220 pound plus guys, you know. So the thought was, well, can we ride that ski? Like it's the same. It's the thing about the way we design our skis is this is the same ski, same bevels, same rocker, same tunnel, same everything. It's just we've just widened it. So it's like as if you just
Okay,
split the ski down the middle and added material to it.
okay, well, hold on. Let's be technical about this. So, you're saying that from a medium to a large, the tunnel radius is unchanged. There's literally a space in the dead center of the ski.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
So I
So
can to say in reverse, I can take a large band or table saw a tenth of an inch or whatever out of the middle of it, glue it together, and it'll fit in the medium mold.
yeah, we call that Chris LaPointing it. So split it right through the middle, glue it together. Now you've turned your large into a medium. Yeah, exactly. Or vice versa. Fill it. Yeah. So that's what we did, and so we started playing around with let's see if we can ride an extra large ski, which is like, I don't know, 7.3 inches wide or something like that at the wide point, and and that's just at the wide point. Like if you measure it under the back foot, it's a good, like, I don't know, 3/4 inches wider than your 67 radar or D3 or any ski like that. I mean, it's a lot wider. So
and,
that's where
and,
we
and,
started.
and I'm going to interrupt you again. You've said this to me for years. I don't think the folks at home probably ever thought about this. The width under your back foot is super critical. How?
Well, that's where the bulk of the lift is during your pull, right? So maybe not right in the turn, but for sure, like into the first wake, you look at where the ski's being pressured, it's right under the center of your back foot. So that is like the center of lift in the area, in the part of the course where you have to create speed. That's where the lift is coming from. It's right under your back foot. So the width and how much lift you have right in that point really dictates how quickly you can accelerate into the center.
Would I be mistaken if I said that width under the back foot is this important and width in front of the front binding is this important?
No, they're important at different times.
Okay.
Like width in front of your front foot isn't going to make you faster in the first wake, but it's going to
Yeah.
massively change what the stability is like through the turn,
Right. Okay. Okay. Obvious.
right?
Okay. All right. I
So
interrupted you. So
no, you're good.
95 is gigantic under your back foot.
Yeah, and you know the reason we've been talking about this forever. Honestly, we started talking about it really when Nate Smith showed up, because here was this kid who weighed, I don't know, 150 pounds back when he first came on the scene. He was riding a ski that seemed like it was too big for him, and he was crushing everybody. And so back then, I think all of us, I think if you asked anybody who was being honest about it, who was a top level skier, they probably all went and got 69-inch skis and tried to ride them because everyone was trying to figure out what the hell that kid was doing and how do you get that. It didn't work for any of us. We all skied terribly on these 69-inch skis, but it was an idea. And so now we're going, well, okay, we've got a ski that's already shorter. The wheelbase is shorter. We've already made it wider. That worked really well.
I know I keep interrupting you, but explain to the folks at home what you mean by shorter wheelbase.
Yeah, well, when I talk about wheelbase, I'm basically talking about your boot position. So where are your feet relative to the fin? So like we typically run a stock setting, even on our extra large, huge skis. We've got people at 28 and 3/4, maybe 29, that kind of range. Whereas if you were riding a 69-inch of any other ski on the market, those stock fin settings or the stock boot position is usually like 31,
Yeah,
somewhere up there. So that's a much bigger distance between your feet and the fin. So the moment to get that to rotate through the turn, it's a lot more difficult when your feet and the fin are a lot further apart.
right.
So that's what I mean by wheelbase. It's let's shorten the wheelbase. Let's get it so the ski wants to rotate a lot more freely. Get it so it can rotate into the turn, not just after the turn. And that's where the magic is. So
All right. All right. So whatever your train of thought was when I interrupted you.
no, you're good.
Shorter
Yeah.
wheelbase.
Yeah. So that was just the idea. It was okay. Well, we've been kicking around this idea now for 10 plus years of we want to try to make a wider ski work. We've already got the platform by making a ski that's shorter. Let's just keep going wider and see if we can make it work. So that's what we did. We took our extra large C85, which, like I said, is it's a big old ski, and started trying to ride it at 36. We figure if we can make it work at 36, it'll work well at slower speeds too, right? So that essentially led to ski, file on the bevel, ski, play with the flex, ski, grind on the bevel, ski, play with the flex. So basically a year of trial and error to, is there a way to get a wide ski to turn and rotate, shut down like a small ski, but still have the acceleration and speed behind the boat that we're trying to get by looking at some of these lighter skiers. And is there a way to get what lighter skiers are feeling by just putting a bigger ski underneath bigger people or normal sized people? I mean, at the end of the day, we're not just out there on a hard surface. We're on water. We're sinking. We're rising up. We're going down. So it shouldn't be too surprising that a lighter skier has an easier time out there. Not to mention that we're also skiing behind a boat that has a reactive speed control system, and that speed control system is limited. Even though you've got a boat that's got 450 horsepower, there's a rate that accelerator increases, the RPMs come up when you hook up out of the buoy, and that may not be enough for a big guy who's pulling that boat down really far. So how do you decrease that load but still do it in a way that you can accelerate into center? Well, put more surface area under their feet. Now they're not digging down as far. Now they can accelerate without loading the boat as much. And potentially someone who's a normal sized person, I'm like 185. I'm riding a ski now that normally you would put a 240-pound guy on. I don't have calluses. It's amazing.
So the width of your feet for speed, especially from hook up to center line, that makes a lot of sense. That's obvious. But I can see folks at home scratching their head and saying, okay, well, the bindings are back, so there's leverage against the fin. So the fin wants to smear and wash a little bit from center line out, but there's still got to be this. How are we going to get this thing to carve? From by the time you get about to the ball line to really carve back and come around the ball. So,
Right.
did you have to mess a bunch with flex and rocker in the midsection, or
The
how does all that get wound out?
A little bit with the flex. The thing is, we think about a ski carving, but a ski doesn't really carve a whole lot. A ski basically rotates and slides a whole bunch.
Mhm.
That slip create some effect that's going to pull the ski back to center. But it's not like we're a snow skier that's out carving on top of snow. We're sliding all the way up into apex and through the backside of the turn. So can we use that? Can we take that concept of sliding and okay, now we've got a bigger ski that's going to be faster, but it's also going to ride higher on the water. So potentially, it's less stable, or it's going to run down the lake more.
Yeah,
Well,
it's not. Yeah, I'm envisioning it's going to get out to the ball line, and then
just
I'm
keep
going to
going.
head
Yeah,
to one ball and turn three ball.
right. Exactly. So um, kind of like what we talked about earlier with the S wing on the C65, instead of because we could put like a 10 wing on it or an S wing on it and slow it down that way, but the idea is no, let's use the rotation, because that anytime you're sliding sideways, you're slowing down. You're not accelerating if you're sliding sideways. So the goal is let's get the ski to start sliding sideways as early as possible as we come off the second wake. That's what's slowing you down, and it does two things: slows you down, but it also gets the rotation started earlier. If you're coming into the turn on your hardest pass and you're coming into the buoy, would you rather have the ski pointed at the bank or already pointed back to the boat when you get to the ball?
Yeah, I think about it in like a race car terms. Like, if you're running a big sweeper turn in a stock car or something, you want those back tires breaking loose early. So when it comes time to apex, the back of the car is already started. It's already pointed the front of the car in the direction you're trying to go, so you don't have much turn left to make.
Right.
I think that's a
Yeah.
good analogy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the best skiers on the planet, they're able to make that happen. They do that. You go watch them, the skis doing that. You go freeze Will Asher, Nate Smith, or Joe Poland, or Freddie Winter, any of these guys, coming into the buoy, and especially on the earlier passes. But what's more impressive, they still managed to do it at 39 and 41. That ski is already starting to point back towards the boat before they get to the buoy. The rest of us, ski's still pointing at the bank, and then we just throw our body in the water and try
I'm
to get
heading
the whole thing
straight down the lake,
straight down the lake.
down the
Yeah.
lake.
And then you're just trying to make all this rotation right at the end.
You got to throw yourself to the
And,
inside.
and then we're trying to adjust our fin because we can't figure out why the ski's doing this.
Right,
We're getting
exactly,
folded in half.
exactly.
So, okay, that's kind of the idea with this whole thing is let's get the ski to functionally want to do that on its own, so that you don't have to be Will Asher or one of these top level skiers to make it happen. Let's just get it to do it for you. And then if you come into the buoy, the ski's already pointing across the lake and the line's tight. Well, skiing's really easy. It's fun.
Yeah,
You grab the
you're
handle
done.
and put your hips up and go.
Awesome.
So
All right, so just to kind of put a bow on this. So when I pull this thing out of the box, and I am deer in the headlights at my camera like I usually am, and I'm making stuff up about your ski, we're gonna see a surprising amount of width under my back foot. What else am I gonna see? And the customer, when they pull theirs out of the box, what dimensionally, what physically are they gonna see that's unusual?
no, I mean that's the main one. The rest of it, honestly, it looks like a Denali. If you've seen a Denali before, you probably at this point are familiar with our flatter tip rocker, our tunnel that doesn't look like all the other tunnels. I will say I'm not going to go into detail about what we did on the bevel. I figure I'll at least give the competition, make them work for it anyway. But the bevels will look a lot different. So that was a big thing that we had to do to make this wider ski do the stuff I'm talking about. So if you look closely, you'll go, that doesn't look like any bevel I've ever seen before. But for sure, I mean, the width is the biggest one, and it's one of those things where you look at a ski and you go, yeah, I think that looks wider. It's not till you put your boots on it and you realize how much real estate there is next to your boots that you go, holy crap, that's a big ski.
So so kind of last thing. So you guys designed this thing for mostly 36 and 34. How is the ski playing out with like the 32-mile-an-hour crowd?
Well, it's funny you say that, but like up here, I use a lot of the people that I ski at Hilltop Lake north of Seattle. I'd say it's 75% of the people up there are in that age bracket where they're skiing 32 miles an hour. And so that's like my test pool. I put put them all on the skis all the time to test stuff. So we tested a bunch at 32. We also have a bunch of skis down at Charleston, where at Trophy Lakes, where Caldwell is. Austin Abel has a bunch of skis out at his lake in North Carolina, and good or bad, that's the age of a lot of skiers now. So we're actually doing quite a bit of testing at the slower speeds, and it honestly, it works great. I mean, it works like you would think, right? It's a very wide ski, so you go slower, it stays higher on the water, it moves better, it's faster. People are skiing great on it at the slower speeds.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense. That's why I asked. I kind of thought, well, I wonder how this does with that group. All right, man. Well, anything else? Oh, did you get scores? Who's on the water? What do you got?
we got to check.
If you got to check. By the time this is published, people will know the answer, but we
Right,
don't know.
exactly. Jamie Bull just skied.
What'd she run?
Uh, One at 41. Man, she sucks. I tell you what,
She is so good.
she's so good.
Women's slalom this year is interesting. All
Yeah.
right, I don't want to get babbling because I'll start talking about men's tricks right now, which is super bonkers. Uh, um, I think we're wrapped up. Unless you have anything else in closing.
No, not really. Yeah, I'd say anybody who wants to try the ski, and I don't want to turn this into even any more of a commercial than it already
Go
is.
ahead.
But we have a demo program, all that fun stuff. So buy a ski, you'll like it. Um, and Caldwell's building each one by hand down in Charleston. So it's one of those things. It's not like some random guy's building these skis. And the thing about him is every single one, he builds them all the same. So they all ski the same. It's not like there's a good ski and a bad ski. He skied down at a tournament at Stillwater like 3 or 4 weeks ago. Ran 4 at 41 and came off the water, took his boots off, and just handed it to one of the people that was asking about a ski. And he's like, "Yeah, you keep that one. I've got others." And he just left. So yeah, it was good. But yeah, he's building them down there in Charleston, and I don't know how far behind we are. I don't think we're too far behind right now on orders. So if you want to get one, it shouldn't take too long.
Awesome. All right, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.